Donald Trump is always playing political theater, but his biggest problem, he doesn't know his lines, his cues are all messed up, and his makeup looks like shit. And that is exactly what we are seeing in his faux outrage over the death of Charlie Kirk. Donald Trump is trying to pretend like he cares, but we know he is only trying to use this to his political advantage. And not only did he get caught lying, trying to put this in his political advantage, but he also got caught admitting just how little he cares with what he recently said disturbing the world. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get to the Trump clip, when he just admits essentially that he really doesn't care, I want to start with someone who does and gave the perfect response to what is happening right now and the disgusting rhetoric of the right. That's Jasmine Crockett right here.
You were one of the first people that I thought about after I saw what happened with Charlie Kirk. I don't want that to happen to anybody. I don't think anybody should be killed because of their opinion or attacked because of their opinion. And you know what happens over there definitely will happen on this side. Yeah. And that definitely makes somebody like you a target.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many people that immediately reached out from all over and was like, what is going on with your security? I had to make sure that I called my mom because I knew that my mom would just want to hear my voice. It really shouldn't be that way. And we now are engaging in conversations again about the safety or lack thereof for elected officials that are in Congress. I mean, I have to raise money to keep myself safe because they will not pay to take care of us, even though the other two branches of government, they pay for their protection. So, you know, hopefully we can engage in some real conversations around what it looks like to get us some real safety. But also we need to engage in like what really does cross the line. We do have free speech in this country, but are you free to say just any and everything? There are limits to all of our constitutional protections, as well as like what kind of standard are we going to hold ourselves to when you are sitting, say, in the Oval Office or, you know, in the House. I hate that some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle immediately came out and they were like, oh, you know, this is on the Democrats. Like, we don't even know who did what. Obviously, the first thing that, you know, anybody would say, and you didn't have any Democrat that went out there and said otherwise, is like, we're denouncing political violence. But that doesn't mean that that's what it was. The fact that this can't be personal is wild, right? Like the fact that they are presuming that this is somebody that came from our side of the aisle. We know that in
that's dangerous. That's very dangerous.
It is dangerous. It is dangerous. And even still, even if it came from our side of the aisle, let's assume the worst. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about what quote unquote radicalized him, right? Like we've seen writings and manifestos, and we've seen where it looks like the two people that went after the president before he was the president had ties to the Republican Party. We know that there were members of Congress that left the House last session because they received threats, not from liberals. They received threats from MAGA because literally they would not vote for the MAGA candidate to become Speaker of the House. We've got to talk about like what it means when you're running for president or you're running for one of these higher offices and you go out there and you talk about beating people up. You go out there and you say things like, I could shoot somebody in the middle of the street in New York and I could still win. That is next level. Me disagreeing with you, me calling you, you know, I want to be Hitler. All those things are like not necessarily saying go out and hurt somebody. But when you're literally telling people at rallies, yeah, beat them up and that kind of stuff, like you are promoting like a culture of violence. So we need to talk about like what it looks like when you don't promote a culture of violence.
Do you think Jasmine Crockett doesn't think about and care about and worry about political violence all the time? This is someone who the right will not stop attacking. And these are already people primed to attack and have this vitriol and hate towards people of color, towards women. Jasmine Crockett is a target for these people. You don't think that she cares about lowering the temperature in this country? The accusation that Jasmine Crockett somehow is part of raising the tensions in this country? No, her call-outs of Donald Trump are accurate. They're astute. They are bang on every single time. And yeah, they're emotional. Why wouldn't you be? This is a man who wants to strip her of her humanity because the right fundamentally does not view us as people. Nancy Mace immediately got in front of a camera because she's in love with attention and started saying that the shooter was a tranny or tranny sympathizer, the disgusting language she uses to attack a persecuted group in America. Trans people who just want to exist and live their lives, yet the right attacks them. And now, do you know what she's saying about the shooter, now that we know it's a white man? That Jesus would have wanted us to care and pray for him. Real quick switch up there, huh, Nancy Mace? Because they don't actually care. They never have. Donald Trump certainly doesn't. And really, he made that all incredibly clear in what he said when asked how he's holding up in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death.
My condolences on the loss of his friend Charlie Kirk. Can I ask Kirk personally, how are you holding up over the last 3.5 days?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty. It'll be an absolutely magnificent structure. And I just see all the trucks. We just started, so it'll get done very nicely, and it'll be one of the best anywhere in the world, actually.
Thank you so much. Your message.
I'm doing great, Donald Trump says. We got the ballroom coming in. Did you guys hear about the ballroom? We're super stoked about the ballroom. Do you think Donald Trump cares? Do you think Donald Trump, even for a second, took time to think about someone who he calls his friend instead of the architecture of his next gaudy project? Of course not. Do you know who Donald Trump really did feel bad for, though? Jeffrey Epstein. That was his buddy, because they committed crimes together. Now, I know Charlie Kirk definitely was instrumental in trying to help Donald Trump overturn the 2020 election, but those aren't the crimes that Donald Trump has a ton of fun with. Those he does with his buddy Jeff. But he was focused on the ballroom. If you're Charlie Kirk's wife, who Donald Trump has given his faux sympathy, his faux outrage for, how do you feel about that? We've been told that we must be in a state of mourning for Charlie Kirk, a vile figure in our politics that he was, that we have to think so deeply about what he meant for free speech. And by free speech, they mean, of course, not actually standing up for attacks on free speech, like the jailing, the kidnapping, the disappearing of Mahmoud Khalil by this administration for criticizing a genocide in Gaza that is being perpetrated by the Israeli government and paid for by our tax dollars. No, that's not free speech to Charlie. Free speech to Charlie is berating college kids for profit. That's what he did. He was not doing politics the right way. He was attacking black pilots. He said black women were incapable of earning jobs. He said essentially they don't deserve to work. Those were Charlie Kirk's words. So anyone who wants me to eulogize this man, I won't. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not. I'm not. I'm simply not. Do you know why? Because the President of the United States, who was his best bud, doesn't care enough to offer condolences before he gets into the spiel about the new ballroom. We love the ballroom. Did you hear about the ballroom? He doesn't even think about it. Listen to him and look at how the Fox host responded today.
He was very hurt when he saw this, but I mean, everybody was. Oh, when I heard it, I was in the midst of, building a great, for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom at the White House, right? They don't have a ballroom. They have to use tents on the lawn for President Xi when he comes over. If it rains, it's a wipeout. And so I was with the architects and with design. It's going to be incredible. And they came in, they said, Charlie Kirk is dead. I didn't know what they meant. I said, what do you mean dead? Charlie Kirk was shot. And they thought he was dead because it was so horrific, And I said, dead? You got...
Even the Fox hosts are disturbed by Donald Trump. He's talking about a ballroom? Really, today? Donald Trump is so distracted politically that he can't even try to milk this because he's just so obsessed with himself. And you're asking me to apologize for not only something I didn't do and you didn't do. We're not responsible, I'll tell you that much. But we, in our everyday lives, work and organize and participate in activism that would reduce gun violence in America. We're living the apology. I don't need to say it. I don't need to think it. I've done the work. You've done the work. So don't ask me. No. This demand of a condemnation is an obstacle in the way of a real conversation about gun violence. That's what they want right now. How many little blockades can we put in the way of actual change? Because above all else, the gun lobby, which was, of course, puppeting Charlie Kirk, that's who Republicans are really worried about. It's always the billionaires. Let's make that clear. And it's always the bigotry, too. We started with Jasmine Crockett calling it out. I want to finish because she was bang on.
Not in the same situation. Yes, I got accepted to private school because my parents worked with me even when I got out of public school, because they had that luxury of being able to do that, and because both of my parents happened to be college educated and they could help me to do my work. But nevertheless, regardless of my education, because I've done both, I can actually be an advocate, and I understand the difference. And I do believe in the importance of having a sound public education. And maybe my mom would not have had to work so many jobs if there had not been people siphoning money out of our public schools to the extent that she felt like they were not going to be able to challenge me, her gifted child, as I was continuing to grow. So all we're saying is, if you're gonna give out $20-something thousand to $21,000 as it relates to these 1,400 students per child, then give out the same $21,000 for the students that are in public school. That's it. We're looking for equity. Something that y'all don't like. I know it's a bad word, but we're looking for equity. And I know that the gentle lady from North Carolina wants to brag about how many black and brown children. I will remind her, one of the reasons the president has a problem with the city of D.C. right now is because it's black and brown. That's what it is. I mean, it would be odd if, like, the vast majority of the people that are taking advantage are not black and brown. That's the city. Okay, I yield.
Now, I've said this in a couple of videos recently, and I think I might keep saying it for a while. I'm fed up. There's going to be a certain tone on this show. I know it's not for everybody. I promise that the way I try to conduct our channel, because I think that this is a community, is I try to give it to y'all straight. Of course, I have a little bit of a tilt, and I think that's fine. I call this progressive political commentary. I'm not ashamed to admit that. Why would I be? Oh my gosh, I want kids to not go hungry. Ooh, so scary. But I'm gonna have a little bit of a tone. I'm gonna have some anger. I'm gonna have some words for some people. And I understand if you might just want to, like, take a beat from that and go to, like, regularly scheduled programming. But we're going to be telling it like it is. I don't really give a shit. If it offends the right, I'm sorry. Not sorry. We're going to be telling it like it is. I won't be silent. And we're going to be talking about the Epstein files as well. I'm not going to stop talking about that. And if you want to support our work, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Oh, and by the way, Jesse Waters should be fired. That's my little sprinkle on top. Until next time, I'll see you soon.